Hello, everybody. This is Frank with Iron Age News. It's May 8th, Thursday. And although we sort of dropped the ball on the dates, we are back on topic. May 24th, was it? May 24th, 2000. Uh, Agents of the federal, who was it? The Federal Marshal Service, the DEA, ATF, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, under the express command of legendary Sasquatch Janet Reno, stormed the house in Miami to remove a little illegal alien boy named Elian González from his family to return him to his father in communist Cuba. Yep. So the reason we're bringing this up, obviously, is let's discuss what occurred in the due process situations and why when Democrats want you out of the country, you can be out of the country like that. And when Democrats want you to stay in the country, you can stay into the country like that. The younger Cuban population, although I don't think they were actually Cubans making the videos, are very anti-Trump due to the issues that they have been caught up with. And we're not going to talk about those particularly at this moment. We're discussing the case of all cases at the time, Elian González, okay? So what happened there? Here's what occurred for those of you who were living under a rock in the year 2000. This is the Clinton administration that brought you such classics as Waco and Ruby Ridge. Also brought you the case of a 6-year-old boy who was caught trapped on the side of a raft. His mother had drowned, trying to bring him to freedom. His relatives brought him into Miami, and this is where it all starts, okay? You have a 6-year-old Cuban boy who was in a tug of war between freedom and communism, family and state, law and executive muscle, right? But it's not about a history, it's about a hypocrisy. And we can say it then and we can say it now. The same party that sent armed agents, the famous photograph, which we had artistically rendered here for the article, on southfloridaconservative.com of the fully armored, helmeted, goggled stormtrooper inside of the González house putting an MP5, everybody's favorite submachine gun, pretty much at the head of Elian and his uncle or whoever it is. Okay, so the same party that sent the armed agents in to seize a child in the middle of the night, now they want due process for everybody, so long as the beneficiaries are potential voters, right? So let's get into that a little bit, and we'll discuss what has been going on in the difference between the Clinton era and what occurred in Obama, which is what we see is a difference in view of these illegal immigrants. And it shouldn't shock you, because what we have here, of course, is the usual suspects in and of the fact that they are, what would be the term? Chancers. We used to use the term chancers. They are playing the opportunities at the moment. Okay, so basically, here's the story. All right, Thanksgiving Day, 1999, 6-year-old Elian González, I'm reading this right off here, was found floating off the coast of Florida. His mother and 10 others had drowned trying to escape from Cuba. Elian survived, only to become a symbol of the very regime his mother had tried to escape. The Miami Cuban American community embraced Elian. His mother had died, bringing him to freedom, big parade type situation. His U.S. relatives took him in, and that was not the end of the story, which you thought it would be, knowing how we were at the time. In Havana, we had a thing called wet foot, dry foot. And this was why everybody always wanted to be on the beach, because once you're on the beach, we had to deal with you. We couldn't just take you back. In Havana, Fidel Castro, the beard, El Grande Puta, whatever you want to call him, he was very upset. And within days, Elian's father, who was in Cuba, demanded that the boy be returned. They started going through the usual motions. And the Clinton administration, looking to warm ties with Cuba and avoid political fallout, took the side of the Castro regime, right? I guess because they hadn't really learned to discover how to rob Haiti as fully as they wanted to. I guess they were feeling their way around in Castro's Cuba to no avail. They claimed it was about family reunification. This is what Clinton's telling you. Family reunification. But this wasn't a quiet family matter. It became a federal campaign. So Elian's Miami relatives filed for asylum on his behalf. And here's where Democratic sleight of hand begins. The Immigration and Nationalization Act allows an individual, even a child, believe it or not, to apply for asylum. There's no requirement in the statute for a parent to co-sign. But in Elian's case, the Clinton era INS claimed only his father could speak for him. Think about what you're hearing out there today with all these people on asylum that are children, right? Only his father could speak for him, despite the fact that the father was under the control of a totalitarian communist state. They denied the asylum application without a hearing. So that wasn't due process. That was bureaucratic nullification, right? Federal courts refused to intervene. The 11th Circuit fought the administration's claim that a 6-year-old had no standing without parental consent. Elian's family kept fighting, but the time was running out. And that's when it came the moment to define the case. April 22nd. I was wrong. It wasn't May. It was April 22nd. Federal agents in tactical gear. Have you seen the videos? If you were down here when it happened, it was all over the place. I'm getting some pushback because we put it on for those people that we knew up north. And of course, since they're a bunch of pussies, they don't know what's up. And, you know, they have to keep their job. But it doesn't matter. This is why I'm glad to be the one that gets to do this, as always. Federal agents in full tactical gear stormed the Miami home of Elian's relatives. No court order, no warrant, automatic weapons, kids, automatic weapons. The MP5 is a submachine gun. So let's use the real term. It is a submachine gun. It is not an assault rifle. It's an SMG. Could have put a lot of holes in people if he had so desired. They find, and you've seen the photograph, Elian is in a closet clinging to a guy, to a man who's trying to protect him. It's a now infamous photograph. It's everywhere. We had to change it so we didn't get sued probably, but you know, it's how it works. Gun stuffed in his face. Go look it up yourself. So the boy is taken, thrown into a van. The vans are fleeing the place like they stole them. If you look at the video, C.N.N. is the only one that seems to have footage up right now. I guess somebody got smart knowing that that we were past the, you know, they probably took it down around the time of Elian's anniversary for 25 years. So it hasn't gone back up yet, but there's at least one CNN video. It's about 1.5 minutes, but it shows you how crazy the scene was. All right. They had allowed Elian's father to come to the United States so that they could hand him over for a photo op. So there you are, handing this child over to a guy to send him back to totalitarian Cuba and fuck his family in the United States, right? So that's how that whole thing ran. Excuse my language. So fast forward to today. You got the same Democratic Party, all right, that armed the agents to snatch a child, now demands compassion and due process for every single illegal border jumper that there is. Now you hear, close your eyes and I'll read it to you. Children should never be separated from family. Due process is a sacred right. Everyone deserves a fair hearing. Funny, because Elian didn't get any of that. So instead of being treated like a potential Democratic voter, he was a political inconvenience, one who threatened to embarrass the Clinton administration by reminding Americans what life under communism looked like. His mother and 10 other people drowned trying to escape communism and or socialism, which we are trying to embrace and bring to this country, right? Compare that to now, right? Now asylum is rubber stamped for people that are coached by NGOs. This is up until we're talking up until Trump and how Trump is dealing with these issues. You have criminal aliens that are being shielded in sanctuary cities. All right. What are we thinking about with this? Everything that you see with these activist judges, they say we have to have due process. They have to due process. You see the due process that was given to the González family, right? You learn just in this moment that a person, an individual person, regardless of the age, could have asked for asylum. Did they do that? No, they let thousands of children come into the country and turn them over to God knows who. We have lost a generation of South Americans, probably to a pedophile meat grinding machine, right? What was going on there? So González was not just a little boy. He was a test case. It was a stress test for American sovereignty and justice and the weaponization of compassion. The left failed that test. They abandoned due process when it didn't serve them, and now they exploit it to an extent that's way beyond what is given to an illegal when it suits their voter base. And who is their voter base? They don't even know why they're doing it. This is 90% to deal with the state of California. There are people that will tell you the majority of the issue is not so much the Spanish-speaking illegals that are in the country, but to use them as a buffer for when they were bringing these militant Islamics in who have been able to go completely under the radar because we're so busy chasing the shadows of South America or China, either way. So you have Islamics and Chinese that got in here, nobody even cared because you're busy fighting on the streets with these communist Mexican college students and everything else. I don't get it. I know a lot of people from Mexico, Central America, and South America. And if you called my friend in a certain country something from another country, you're going to hear about it. You know, you guys all think it's funny. You call a Dominican a Haitian and see how they call a Dominican a black guy and see how long you get around, right? It doesn't work. Everybody has their own thing. Don't be so culturally blindered that you're not good because you don't think that's right or that's stupid. This is what we're all about right here. This shows you exactly, and you're talking the Clintons here, right? If anybody could bend federal weapons to their behalf, it was Hillary and Bill Clinton. Okay. So whereas Elian's mother wanted him to come here and live a free life, the sick thing is the best thing that happened to him was probably the fact that he went back to Cuba. Bear with me. Not that he wouldn't have gone out and become an astronaut in the United States, but the fact was when Cuba went through all this bullshit, they could no longer leave this boy, go back to his father, and go back and live in some hovel on the outside of, you know, whatever, San Juan someplace or whatever town it would be. He became a ward of the state, him and the father, pretty much. You'd see him at the revolutionary celebrations and things of that nature, because in their mind, Elian was a victory for the communists over the United States government, and he always will be until they are disbanded. You see the kid today, he looks fine because you know what? He's part of the elite. Same as you don't see him very often, but a few of the children of some of the older revolutionaries are also the same way. They're kept around. They're not given jobs because, you know, we don't like competition. So take a look at this story. There's a lot that went on there. You'll find it in a lot of places. It is being scrubbed, though. I can't say you'll find it in a lot of places. You won't find accurate details in a lot of places. But if you go onto like legal reviews and things, because this was a big deal immigration side, because on the one team, you had money coming in for Elian González's attorneys or the people that were trying to surround themselves. This is before crowdfunding. A lot of things would have been different, I think, if we had had the social media, if you had had the crowdfunding, if you had had all those things. Money could have been brought in and really worked a little bit differently. But this was at the beginning. Janet Reno was a brutal enforcer. She always was disliked in Metro-Dade. And the funniest thing ever was later on when the Clintons and the Democrats think that they should win Dade County after Elian González, which is why you see them out there. They don't say Elian González, but they are pushing a very similar story against Trump. However, Trump is following the law. And the people that they're trying to represent for, in general, are criminals or idiot criminals. All right, so go with it what you want. And like I said, but see this was the beginning. This is how they handle business. and it's just one other nail in the coffin of the so-called Democrat Party. So have a good day. Talk to you later on.